leading the charge to make the 2024 Broker Carrier Summit possible, and we are so excited to have their support. In case you haven't heard, TAFS offers much more than freight factoring. It provides a comprehensive support system for trucking companies of all sizes, specializing in fast and efficient invoice factoring with the ability to pay carriers in as little as 1 hour. And TAFS services go well beyond factoring, offering a fuel card that unlocks major fuel discounts, flexible business loans that are designed to cater to the distinct needs of a carrier's operations, a dedicated, responsive client experience team, and much more. Black Box Logistics is a 3PL freight brokerage based out of Birmingham, Alabama. Black Box Logistics was formed in 2020 by 3 friends, Logan Dyer, William Graves, and Will Hopkins, in a basement office with the goal of bringing transparency around the clock communication and hassle-free customer experience to the table. is an AI-powered call automation platform built for freight brokers, designed to screen every inbound call in real time, block spoofing, phishing, and double brokering scams, verify compliance through integrations with FMCSA, Highway, and My Carrier Portal, and automatically connect brokers with qualified, vetted carriers, all before a human ever picks up the phone. Sales-CRM is built for freight broker and agent sales teams. Manage your shipper prospecting and follow-ups. Organize your carriers in the lanes they run. HD Ships is a leading logistics provider specializing in sustainable and tech-driven freight solutions. With hubs in Reno, Phoenix, and London, we deliver comprehensive services, including full truckload, expedited cross-border, and intermodal freight. Leveraging proprietary technology, we offer 24/7 tracking, real-time visibility, and advanced automation to ensure safe, compliant, and efficient transportation. Our commitment to sustainability enables clients to offset emissions through carbon credits, aligning logistics with environmental goals. At HD Ships, we prioritize transparency, reliability, and exceptional customer service, empowering clients to achieve seamless, sustainable logistics solutions worldwide.
Comments like, keep fighting the good fight, brother, and we've got to support each other.
What's up, Matt?
What's happening? Sorry, I was on a little bit of a delay.
No, you're good. Yeah, it sounded like I could hear like Judge Judy in the background or something that you had going on over there.
I have no clue, but I was on a little bit of a delay. Yeah, happy Tuesday, I guess. Fun to do a Tuesday show.
Yeah, it's been quite some time since we did one. I'm excited about this show. And also, before we get into it, happy 30th birthday to Truck Stop. And then also not so happy I was slandered again by you on LinkedIn. It's becoming a reoccurring issue every time I get these notifications, and it's just Matt Dahl attacking me.
Well, you weren't born yet, man. You weren't supposed to participate in the 30-year anniversary thing. A couple people cheated that.
Yeah, well, they had said it to me, so I figured why not. I also think you setting the odds of next child for me at -250 is also just outrageous. But we'll talk about that another time.
Yeah, we'll talk about that another time. Nate agreed though. He set the odds. He would bet on you.
Yeah, I would fade it. I'd make a lot of money.
All right. Shout out to our sponsors. Brought to you by Wirebee, Carrier AI. Great company. We've had them on the show. Definitely reach out to them if you're looking for ways to prevent fraud. Black Box Logistics, Will's Company, HC Ships, Drive Recruit Agents, Sales Dash CRM, the OG sponsor. They've been sponsoring us before we went live. Reached out when we announced.
Matt, I think we lost you there for a second. Might be the connection. I'm going to pick up where you left off. Yeah, Sales Dash, our very first sponsor. Black Box uses Sales Dash. We love it. Can't say enough good things about them. Also, Two Dogs One Pod is on Sales Dash. We've got our banner sponsor, TAF's Top 10 Factoring Company. Fantastic group to be a part with. They do a lot of stuff in our space. Check out BCS Summit. They're a big sponsor of that as well. Then circling back, Matt kind of brushed over this, but Black Box Logistics was recently voted as the People's Choice 3PL. And he didn't mention that when he was
who was the vote for that? Who voted?
I voted. Anyway, we're going to get into the episode now. We got two guests. They're with a stout asset company, HMD Transport. If you have been a broker and ran any spot freight, you've likely ran across them. A very large player. They'll come on, correct me if I'm wrong, but I want to say 700 trucks, 1,400 trailers, something like that. And they've also got a side project that we'll get into, some exciting stuff happening. So we'll go ahead and bring them on stage. We've got Paul and we've got PJ. Hey, guys.
Hey, thanks for joining us, guys.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, looking forward to it. And we've got a shout out from Daniel. He says, loving the pod, lads. We appreciate you tuning in, Daniel. So PJ and Paul, for those that don't know you or don't know HMD, give us a quick intro, cliff notes. Don't worry about from, like birth to today, but just give us your background in the industry, whatnot, from where you started, where you are today, and then we'll get into it.
Sure. Been in the industry about 13 years now. Started out right out of college, getting a job with Command Transportation. And then in 2015, we were bought out by Echo Global Logistics. Stayed there until 2021, left and went to a tech startup, still in the freight space out in New York. And then came over here to join HMD January of 2023.
What year did you start over at Command?
2012.
Did you know Ryan Paul by chance?
I did not. I know who he is now, but I did not know him at the time when I was at Command.
Okay, I'll say he's a buddy of mine. I was like, there's so many roots from Command. I feel like there's a lot of leaders in the industry that had their roots at Command. It was obviously, a great company to work for, it sounds like.
For sure, yeah. You got the guys starting Arrive, High Tide, Avenue, a bunch of spin-offs now.
Yeah, 100%.
Awesome, PJ. What about you?
Yeah, so similar timeline as Paul in the industry. 13 years, got started back in 2012. But most of my career has been spent on the asset side of the business. So I was working with mid-sized trucking companies out of Chicago. Started from ops, kind of worked my way up to dispatch, and then got into sales. So stood up quite a bit of, account direct shipper type business for most of these guys. Then had an opportunity to start up a few brokerage companies for some of these asset companies as well. Exited the industry shortly. I mean, it wasn't necessarily an exit, but I started a staffing company, a dispatch company, essentially out of Ukraine. We grew to about 40 people. Then we ended up selling that to one of our clients and got back into brokerage sales and asset.
Very cool. PJ, I want to ask you what's the experience like going from these brokerages and then working with, which I guess with the dispatching company, you kind of get that look, I would say, of being in an asset company, but not directly being tied to the assets. But what did you take from the brokerage into the asset company? How has it shaped your perspective? What are you able to bring to the table that maybe somebody that's been in the asset side their whole career not have?
Yeah, there's quite a bit there. I think Paul would actually be better to answer this, since he, most of his career was on the brokerage side, and now that he's working with an asset company, probably bring a lot more value there. But I'll be happy to speak to that. Paul, you want to bring up a few points?
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely a shock when you're sitting there at Echo or just the straight brokerage side, not knowing what all goes into the carrier side. You're thinking it's easy taking, Chicago to Atlanta, Atlanta to Houston, Houston back to Chicago. It's an easy triangle, easy to cover the freight, easy to move the trucks. But then when you take the cost of operating, the days to pay, the driver pay, the insurance, the breakdown costs, the driver hours, especially nowadays, and all of our drivers are on ELDs. There's a lot more into it, and it's a lot harder. It's a lot harder to sell assets than people think. Going into a customer, even though we have an asset arm, they think it's a lot easier to land the customer freight, but it's, I would say, almost just as hard as just being a straight up brokerage, because there's a lot more that goes into it.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I haven't worked on the asset side either, but it's interesting. I hear from some agents that come from the asset side, and sometimes it surprises me they're interested in a non-asset based agent program. And a lot of them say it's not like what they thought it would be in terms of the ease of selling. I think maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe that's sometimes like, a myth of maybe people in my seat or people who have never worked on the asset side that think, oh, well, the people selling with assets is so easy. That's like, just what all the shippers want. But once you're actually in that seat, it's not as easy as people think. So I'm glad you brought that up.
Sure. Yeah. Drivers want home time. They want miles. The people think, hey, you have 750 trucks. It's easy for you to run a local Cincinnati to Frankfort, Kentucky, and do 50 a week. It's like, well, the drivers aren't going to get the miles they need. They're not going to make the revenue that they need. We're not going to make the money to cover the truck costs. So there's a lot more that goes into it.
Are you guys doing mainly direct shipper freight then? Are you guys doing some broker freight, or
it's a healthy blend? Yeah. So we try to diversify as much as we can. Obviously having more contract business and spot helps us, with consistency, right? So I think what HMD did very well is they've grown relatively naturally. Like, they didn't have quick spikes of growth over the years, and that's why they're still around, right? So they've been through various freight cycles. I mean, they've been around since '98. They don't make very drastic moves in terms of their business, right? The biggest moves that they have made have been acquisitions, which, I mean, if you guys have ever been through an acquisition, there's no easy feat, right? But that's realistically, like, that's, the most they've grown was probably when they've made those acquisitions. It's very like organic growth year over year. And they service their customers, right? So so how we act is like we have a centralized sales team, right? So I oversee most of our direct shipper business. And when we're selling the enterprise, because we have 9 brands under the enterprise, we're getting into the shipper, understanding their needs, and then applying the solution, right? So to Paul's point, right, a lot of times shippers say, hey, we want asset only, right? Great, we have assets, right? So let's understand your needs. But when we dig deeper, we very quickly find out, okay, well, maybe you can't afford asset only. I think you should have a blend of both. But it still helps us, right, kind of better carriers understand the carriers better, right, and how to pitch the business to our partner carriers, and then so on, right? But Will, to your question earlier on what's a big difference between working with brokerage as opposed to on the asset side as a dispatcher, right? So that was a very good question. There's quite a bit. So when I had the dispatch team, we were training them on simple things most companies don't train their dispatchers. And I'm not trying to be naive. I'm sure there's a lot of great carriers that train their people well, but simple basic things that set you apart, like customer service, right? So vast majority of our clients back then were kind of mom and pop, like smaller, 10 trucks or less companies, right, that we were dispatching. And as a broker, and you guys you have experience brokering, it's very different on the other side of the phone. When you're talking to carriers, it's different than when you're talking to brokers, right? The customer service is typically not as good on the carrier side. Again, there's bad actors on the broker side as well, but it was simple, right? So simple things like how to even answer your phone, right? It's such a short sales cycle. So if you're doing a lot of spot type business, which most kind of typical Chicago-based carriers are, there's a dispatcher, he's got 12 trucks he oversees, 10, 8, depending on the company, right? How much contract business they have. And then that's his team, that's who he's covering in every single day. And it's typically very transactional. DET boards, truck stop, etc. So simple things of like how do you answer your phone and how to differentiate yourself as a dispatcher and a carrier to help you build more rapport with the brokers, right? To then be able to be favored on the next load, especially in a bad market, right? Where supply demand's not in your favor, where you're posting your truck and everyone's calling you, your phone lights up like a Christmas tree. So, I mean, basic things like that helped tremendously. And it gave a very good reputation for our clients at the time for the carriers that we were dispatching.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And yeah, I'll only speak for myself, right? With my experience brokering freight, like you said, there's good actors and bad actors in every part of the industry. But I do think that what you're referencing, right, like this basic stuff that you're training that separates that low hanging fruit is so apparent in the dispatching world, especially on LinkedIn or maybe these trucking Facebook groups. There's a bad rap for offshore dispatching, but I don't think that it has nothing to do with them being offshore. It has to do with the training, right? I mean, even looking at black boxes comms with certain carriers, they request information in a clean manner, and it's just, man, some people are just so hard to work with, and it's just doing the little things, and the little things add up. And I think that I don't want to say it's very easy to stand out, but there's definitely little things that you can do that separate you from a large majority of carriers running spot freight.
Yeah, I mean, basics, right? Like, I mean, we get so granular, and we don't have a whole lot of time here, but for example, broker calls on your truck, you answer the phone. Okay, how do you get more money out of a broker when you're a dispatcher, right? It's such a short sales cycle, right? And it's the usual, hey, calling on your truck in PA, great, the dispatcher answers. As you're plugging in information on the phone, hey, thanks for calling on my posting, by the way. Looking forward to work. Like, it's small things like that dispatchers just normally don't say, but we made it so repetitive that it's just natural. They say it like that on the phone regardless, right? And then what happened too is we made them thank the brokers for the loads after the fact. So we either did the same day of delivery, but what worked best was the day after. So you delivered, Chicago to Philly today, right? Tomorrow you have an email you already scheduled out to send to that broker. He comes in at whatever, 8 a.m. Your email went out at 7 a.m. Hey, John, thanks for the load, by the way. Appreciate it. The driver loved it. Receiver was great. Looking forward to working with you again. Right? You call that broker again, the following day. Hey, how's our service? It means a lot for me. Hey, by the way, here's a link to our Google. So we actually collected reviews for these carriers as well, which ultimately helped, right? But it's small things like that where it's such a transactional, fast-paced environment that most don't think about, but you better believe next time that particular broker sees your posting, right, or you call that broker, their chances are they'll probably remember you, right? A higher likelihood, because you're differentiating yourself from the rest, and answering the phone. Hello, this is PJ with XYZ company. Hi, whatever. I know it's difficult, right? Because it's such a high volume. You're going through so many calls. But most guys, when you pick up the phone correctly, as opposed to dispatch with like an accent, you're not really setting yourself up for success on that call. Why should that broker pay you $50 more, $100 more on that load? You have to make him feel like he's, you're going to do a great job, right? So a lot of it was kind of just basic, customer service and tonality kind of training.
I'm glad you brought that up, because I was just thinking, back to my time as a cradle to grave broker. So I was booking all the trucks and doing the sales, and not very many carriers said that, but the ones that did say that, you kind of just wanted to naturally work with, because your time is juggled in so many different places. You want to do business with the carriers that are easiest to work with, and just make you feel less stressed. And sometimes it is the simple things that carriers say, and I never really thought about that until you brought that up. And I think maybe a lot of brokers or carriers don't think about that, but that's a fantastic point.
I would venture to say that that's applicable in any service company, right? Customer cadence, SLA, service level agreement. How do we communicate? Like what is our cadence? How do we get this information across, right? And setting that as the standard across the organization. So rep A is communicating the same way as rep, Z. And it's just from day one, that's what we do, as opposed to a lot of times companies, they grow really quick and they try to go back and do it. And it's tough to retrain that stuff. But if you come in, that's the expectation, you hold them to it. It's just second nature. So yeah, that's great stuff, PJ. I do kind of want to segue into the logistics war room. Want to hear about that. Let our audience know what's going on there. Sounds like just from our brief conversation thus far, there's going to be a lot of good information in there. So yeah, tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. Yeah, I'll kind of give you just the background of how it got started and where we are now with it. So PJ and I were always getting asked to go out to dinners or meet with carriers, brokers, and asking kind of low-hanging fruit questions. How did you guys set up your brokerage? How are you getting in with customers? What are you using as a vetting software to prevent fraud? What TMS are you on? And it got repetitive and also took up a lot of time going to these meetings. So PJ and I got together and we're like, hey, let's put a group together of people in the industry and the knowledge we have, and kind of build courses, have content, and continue to build a community where people can ask those questions and get the answers they need versus having to go and get together. So since then, we've put together a community on school. We have, probably at least 5 or 6 courses out. PJ's about to finish another one that'll get delivered or released next week. And these courses teach the tools to use, but also what we recommend and what we use internally. So, for carrier vetting, we're on My Carrier Packet and Carrier Sure. So we kind of highlight those ones. These are what we use. These are the specific, restrictions that we put in place to prevent fraud. And these are how we use the tools to find new carriers or vet. So from there, we've continued to grow it, and we've met people through it that we now, like Eric Williams with Beagle, met him through the War Room. And now we are actual customers of Beagle, love the tool. Reminds me a lot of what I'm missing from being at Echo on Clutch, which was our TMS then, which was amazing. So really enjoying using that. We've also had new people of the industry, 2 guys from San Francisco who have tech backgrounds and getting into freight. Don't know, much of anything in the logistics space. Flew out from San Francisco to meet with us in Chicago, kind of pick our brains. And now we're kind of seeing more avenues to partner with them and build. Very
cool. So school, say I were interested in joining the platform, what does that look like? Is it a paid entry? Is it free? What does just kind of walk us through, somebody were interested in checking it out, what the process would look like for them to get onboarded and access to the courses that you're referring to?
Sure. To be on the logistics war room, to be part of the community, it's $9 a month. So very minimal fee, just kind of keeps the lights on and keeps the website and the tools we use covers those costs. So I'm not trying to get rich off that or anything. The courses, a mix of ones that cost money or are free, especially if you pay up front for the year for the membership, you actually get several courses for free in doing so. And then from there, there's topics that PJ and I don't know anything about, or at least I don't. Let's say air freight. Like, we would love to sit down with someone who specializes in air freight and build a course on that, because I'm sure there's many other people who don't know anything about air freight or want to learn. And that's the thing I enjoy about it, is learning these topics in the logistics space that I don't know much about.
Yeah, I would say that that's been, I can at least relate to that through this podcast. It's been one of the cool things for me is having these different guests on and then learning a lot of things about stuff that I just know nothing about, right? We've had guests on from all different types of backgrounds, and it's been a very big opportunity for me to learn this past year as we've been doing it. So I want to ask, you guys have a little bit of both brokerage and asset experience. Are the courses geared for one versus the other, or is it a little bit of both?
Both, I would say. Yeah, I mean, honestly, there's, we've had shippers actually look into some of the vetting ones we have and implemented some of what some of the material that we've shared there. It's really the education piece, and again, the courses that are paid, they're like $20, right? And the $9 a month, it's like, hey, brew your coffee at home once a month, and it pays for itself, right? But it's really more for education and collaboration, right? So we're really big with Paul on, collaborating within the industry, right? So broker to broker, broker to carrier, carrier to carrier, there's opportunity everywhere, right? And it's a very cutthroat industry where usually most of the people are kind of keeping their cards to themselves, if you will, but it's a $1 trillion industry, right? And 70% of that is full truck, over the road, right? Not full truck, but over the road transportation, right? So making up 9% of the nation's GDP. So for us, for you and me, Will, to compete is like you and I, trying to drain the ocean buckets, right? We're not even making a dent. So, but now we can collaborate, right? So if you say, hey, I'm extremely good. My niche is tanker business or, over dimensional flatbed step deck business. Great, right? If I have a client that I come across that I'm not in my sales process, that I'm not, as good at in this sector, maybe I can't solve for their problems as well as, you can. I'm facilitating that introduction, right? And then I believe in the law of reciprocity, right? So you help others, you can organically get that back. And now we have, connection. So if I need anything, from you, right? So it's just kind of organic networking, collaboration. It applies to both. I would say carriers could benefit a ton from that, just by, kind of from a sales perspective, because most trucking companies don't necessarily have like a centralized sales team that brokers do, right? Because again, the operating expense, the OpEx and CapEx for an asset-based trucking company is significantly higher than, brokerage. So there's a lot of great content there. The next course we're releasing is on the proven sales process, which includes word tracks, most common objections, rebuttal to those, right? Actual cold calls with shippers, the whole nine, right? The CRM infrastructure, what's a successful sales flow look like within, freight sales? How do you do an effective handoff to the ops team from the sales side, right? To make sure that there's continuity across the board, so you can retain business. And all of that's really kind of just built through experience and tribal knowledge that we have, right? Some other courses, Paul mentioned Beagle, we actually collaborated on a proven RFP process course, and what's helped us convert a ton of business with Beagle to then present that to everyone, right? Whoever's interested in learning more, right? So it's really it applies to both carriers and brokers.
Yeah, that's awesome. We got a comment from Scoondrel. I don't know what that name means, but give us a thumbs up. Appreciate you tuning in.
Is this more? Sorry, Will. Is this more for people that already have experience too, or is this like for people who could just be entering, the industry and don't know much of anything? Or is there like a level of experience that's kind of better for the site, or it's kind of there's things for pretty much all levels of somebody who's been in the industry for 15 years or someone who just learned what a flatbed and what a dry van was last week?
That's all levels. Yeah, I mean we have several people. I would probably say a good 25% of the people are less than a year in the industry. Just like I was bringing up, the guys from San Francisco who flew in. I mean, they have a great experience in tech. And want to get into the $1 trillion freight industry. So they came out and met with us and kind of picked our brain. And now we've had several meetings and calls with them. But yeah, everyone in it. I mean, to PJ's point, he brought up earlier with the customers, we were filling out an RFI. And then in the questions in the RFI, it said, what do you use to prevent fraud? We just took the black book from Logistics War Room, copied it, pasted it in there. And then they reached out to us like, wow, this is everything you guys do. This is how you use these tools. And they want to implement it on their end. So there's a lot of cool connections that we've made from it.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, go ahead, Matt.
I was going to say it's good to hear because you see that a lot. I think there's a lot of different training programs for people that are just new into the industry, and that can be have resources for that is great. I get messages, let's say once a month, asking where's a good place to learn. I think it's kind of interesting you brought up shippers too. There's some shippers I've had message like they're wanting to be agents or break into brokerage sales, either an agent or W-2, but they don't know really anything about that side of the industry, and they want to learn about it. And sometimes it's hard to know where to point people. So that's something I can tell people they can check out too. So it's cool to hear.
For sure.
Yeah, recruiters are in there, right? So it really applies to anything logistics supply chain, right? If I get a request for cold storage or dry storage from a shipper, I'm going to go to my network and the logistics war room, make a post about it, and I'll have 3 or 4 options available like this, right? And then I can just facilitate the introduction. You guys take over and help them, right? So it's collaboration. But I would say, for someone who is new to the industry or looking to get into the industry, it's a no-brainer. I mean, if this existed when I was getting started, like I would take advantage of it, right? But to each their own, right? There's people who come in at 8, work 8 to 5s, and as soon as 4:59, they're looking at their clock, they pack up and they run. And there's people who are constantly looking to evolve, get better, right, and try to be successful in their career, right? But yeah, I mean, part of kind of what started it too is when Paul came on board, he's like, dude, how are you guys averaging 7 shippers a month? I mean, we're a boutique company on the brokerage side, right? The assets are significantly large, but he's like, how are you averaging 7 customers a month? Like it made almost no sense, right? And for us, it's like, you don't know what you know, right? We're just like, hey, here's our process, here's our CRM, here's our workflow. We have an outbound team doing SDR work. We've got, teams converting it. Here's our handoff, and that stuck out, right? So for us, it's just kind of day to day, and there's probably a lot more successful sales team out there that doing more, but that stood out. We're like, well, hey, we can build a course, right? And kind of most of the learning material that we have, it's basically our onboarding material internally that's just been kind of converted into public information, right? So we remove a lot of the, company language and just made it available for coaching your sales team, how to vet carriers, how to convert RFPs, right? I think that's a common one, right? There's plenty of people out there who's sat countless hours on spreadsheets and filled out RFPs after RFP and then have not seen a conversion. Well, there's a science, there's a dance to that as well, right? How you can really pull through and how to differentiate yourself, especially if you're a new logistics service provider, right? If you're a new guy in an RFP or procurement process, you got to do so much more than the rest to really stand out.
100%. Do you guys have a category there on? I was just thinking when you said, and I'm sure you guys have 7 quality shippers, but one thing I sometimes notice with new reps or conversations is they call up 7 lumber customers and they get 7 credit apps, but kind of like some new reps sometimes. Will's talked about this on the show, kind of struggle with like what's a good customer and what's like not a good customer. Do you guys kind of cover that as one of the topics as well?
Oh yeah, 100%. So that's actually in the proven sales process course that will be released here in the next few weeks. Is learn how to actually it's in the RFP process too. There's notes on that there, but how to qualify a shipper, basically, right? Because not all business is good business. You don't want all of it. So there's that's a very good point. Not everyone brings that up.
Yeah, no, it's just something Will's brought up and something I saw a lot and still see sometimes talking to new people. But how much time did this is kind of maybe a broad question. How much time did it take to develop this? I mean, it seems like you guys have so many different categories, input from different people in the industry. Have you guys been working 13-hour days between your day jobs and developing this platform as well?
Yeah, so we started it in April, I believe. Me and PJ started working on it. And then, after work, when our kids go down to bed at night, we normally hop on and then we're on working from, 9 to midnight, building these courses and collaborating, doing the AI. So it's been a lot of work.
Yeah. It's fun to see you guys have success. I mean, a lot of people would not be willing to, have a wife and kids and put them to bed and go back to work from 9 p.m. to midnight. So it's cool to see what you guys have done there.
I would even venture to say, I mean, first of all, you're just a couple of freight guys. You just must love it, right? To build it after hours and all that stuff. But a platform such as yours, right? You kind of alluded to it earlier, right? Like the high performers, the people that want and will seek out more, right? You'll probably find them in the logistics forum. And it should be, I would imagine, high quality people, people that will like push your mind, explore things, concepts, people that you want to be associated and connected with, that are truly trying to work on their craft, as opposed to, I don't know, you get on some of these shitty Facebook groups and it's just, they're just throwing trash. And it's like, what are we doing here? But there is, the select, I don't want to say the select, but there are people in our industry that really and truly do love it. And there's not necessarily a space for them to go to collaborate necessarily. Like maybe LinkedIn is kind of an avenue, but even there, I don't know. I think it's a cool concept, this collaboration and this continued learning and the idea of reciprocation, right? Making an intro for the good of the intro.
Yeah, a lot of what you just said was part of the reason to build it. You on LinkedIn and everything. I love LinkedIn, but a lot of the stuff is just meme posting and people who spent 6 months as an ops or dispatcher, and then they think they're freight gods and they know everything in the industry. So it's nice to make a community where it kind of weeds those people out.
Yeah, some of it's a cash grab. I don't want to say I guess it's a cash grab as I see it. Like, these people that might be selling a course on something, but they've never done it. They don't have a proven experience or history demonstrated that they can do this, right? Like, so it's one thing for somebody to be in it and have done it for a long time. And you can point to, no, like I do know this, like I've been doing this. It's displayed here and I have all this stuff, as opposed to somebody from the outside coming in and shilling these shitty courses for $500 to some kid who's trying to get in the industry. So I think it's cool. And I really appreciate when I asked you guys the question of, what does the process look like to get onboarded to your platform? I was expecting it to be pretty pricey, because for the most part, when people do this kind of stuff, it's for, maybe it's for a good purpose, but it's also for the revenue, right? But a $10 reoccurring monthly fee is extremely reasonable. So no, I think that's badass. That's awesome.
Well, for us, the value is in, to your point, the people, right? So the people you mentioned are the people you want in your phone book that you can call on a Saturday or Sunday. They're going to answer the phone, right? Like that's who we want in our circle. And we've seen a lot more opportunity and doors open up through connections and networking and working together with high level operators than, making money from the actual work, right? So to Paul's point, it covers the expenses of what it takes to operate. I mean, the value comes from the connections that you make and the relationships that you can build within the world. That's where we see it.
Yeah, that's a good mindset. A lot of people kind of go into it as if it's zero sum, right? Like if I don't get it, you're going to get it, right? But like you said, it's such a big industry and there's so much out there. And to be frank, we're all good at different things within the industry, right? So really and truly, we can make the pie bigger by doing things like this within our networks, as opposed to, like kind of keeping it closed off and thinking that, the way I do it is super secretive and recipe. Because really and truly, the way I see it, there are some separators in the industry, but for the most part, it's just people that are going to do the work, right? And it's one thing to know what to do, and then another thing to actually go out and execute on it on a daily basis for a long time, since maybe 1998, like HMD. Cool.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, that was pretty much all I had. I learned a lot on the episode, kind of about what you guys. I guess I had maybe one last question. I mean, some of the people that you have kind of brought on here, because I think you guys brought up a great point. I mean, there's people trying to sell courses on LinkedIn for $1,000 that have not done the job that they've had. Do you guys do some type of vetting with the people that you are putting that are putting like certain things on the platform in that regard, just to kind of keep the quality there as well?
The vetting is $9 a month.
Yeah.
Someone wants to pay money to ship them, so that's what it is. It's the value comes from the community itself. Again, this is brand new, right? And this has been kind of duct taped and bubblegum together after hours with the time that we have. And again, Paul and I were operators, right? We're just guys that love this industry and work hard, right? At the end of the day, all we're doing is we're saying, hey, here's what's worked very well for us and has transformed our business. Let's build educational material around that. That way, next time you get invited to dinner, you say, hey, I appreciate it, but you don't have to spend $250 on dinner. here's the logistics war room, all the material, right? And that's going to cost you a third of what it would cost for dinner. And you can get it for the whole year.
Yeah.
So
It's awesome. I recently set up an intro.co where to kind of vet my calls. I get a lot of maybe similar to that, like whether it's dinner or hop on a call. And it's just only have so much time, right? And like separating who's serious and like actually is genuine and wants to learn, and then who's not going to like Trojan horse sales pitch me some dumb shit for like the 30 minutes that I have when I'm taking out of whatever. So there's a cost associated with being able to book that call. And that's kind of like my separator to vet. And it's not about the money, but it's like, hey, if you're serious about it, then you're probably willing to do that. And then at that point, I'll take it seriously, prep, and I enjoy doing it. So yeah, I hope that makes sense.
time is currency, right? Like you're spending time away from your family. At the end of the day, you're looking for some sort of voluntary transaction, right? Whether you learn something, right, or you advance in your career, whatever it may be, right? Like and that's our mentality fault too. I mean, we had to stop just answering phones, and we're like, dude, let's put this community together. Not only is it going to help others, but we can benefit. I mean, it's really just being selfish of like, hey, I want to learn more, right? How do I do air freight? How do I do cross-border effectively, right? We use Cargado. We partnered with those guys, Matt Silver and the guys on the team. They're phenomenal. I mean, I've never thought I'll do that much, getting into that business, but they make it so easy, right? And again, you meet other people within the community who are also experts in cross-border. We've got a guy on there. His whole niche is reefer intermodal cross-border. Like, so if that need comes up, right, I know who I'm calling right away, and I have a cell phone, right? Like, it's that networking that, but a lot of it has been really like, hey, how do I get business? How do I get business? How do I get shippers? How do I get shippers? Getting shippers is not difficult. It's converting the shippers and making them a profitable business, right?
Yeah.
So all the material we put together, again, we're bootstrapped, right? So we don't have any venture capital, no private equity funding. Everything that's been built so far has been voluntary transactions, good business practice. Very difficult to do when you start from zero, right? And all the shipper relationships that we built, there's a lot of really great shippers out there. A lot of them are very price centric, but money is out there, right? So a lot of people talk market too, right? Where's the market going? Where's it? You have to work as if the market is going to be like this for the next 10 years. And that's to forget when it's going to go up or when it's going to go down. Like, just operate, execute, right? Like, these are uncontrollables. Control what you can't control. Get better at sales. Get better at persuasion. Get better at solving for problems. Right? Get better at not pushing the prospects on the phone, but guiding them to the most logical step that you're able to guide them to, right? Of whatever your service offering is, right? Know your differentiators. Understand your shipper's business. Get into their world, right? Do some prep before you get on a discovery call. Learn the terminology of their business, right? Talk their language. Like, I mean, these things matter, not going on LinkedIn and complaining about carriers, right? Or finding, commenting on things about market or, hiring the wrong people or whatever. Like, just work.
Yeah, stuff that actually moves the needle. And what a great example of leveraging technology for something good in a day and age where it's really easy. There's so much just bullshit out there. You can get stuck on a TikTok rabbit hole just watching mind-numbing stuff for an hour. It's really cool to use it and build something like this, right, where we can have access to thoughts at an instant, right? So no, I mean, again, very cool. I'm going to personally check it out. Probably not tonight because I've got some calls, but at some point this week, the logistics war room, and look into joining and see if I can learn some stuff myself.
Yeah, and a big to jump back to the previous point they were making, to a big learning curve going from a big broker like an Echo to now HMD, where me, PJ, and our two partners are running it. Is when you're at Echo or these billion-dollar brokers, it's any business is good business as long as it's profitable. So all you're looking at is, hey, the customer's giving me $10.50, I'm covering it for $1,000. I don't care the days to pay, the GP on it, all of that. It's just like, how much GP am I getting on the volume? Or when you're actually at a startup and doing it yourselves, you're caring about the days to pay. You care about the GP percentage. You have to look a lot more into it. Not every customer works for your brokerage. Like, if a customer's running at a 3% GP percentage on $1 million in revenue, that customer is not going to work for me. I'm not going to take it. You're over at Echo. You don't have to worry about that. You can go ahead and take it on. Your team's going to finance it. So it's a lot more weeding out of customers when you're at a startup.
Yeah, no, 100%. Finding that ICP is super important. Guys, I do have a cutoff here in a couple of minutes, but I appreciate y'all coming on so much. I learned a lot. Matt, any final questions you want to ask the guys?
No, that was pretty much for me. I learned a lot too, and I think it's definitely a great resource. I was just kind of thinking through the show. I mean, we have an agent's email, and constantly there's agents putting in the email. Has anyone ever done international? Has anyone ever moved this type of furniture? Because agents will commonly know like one type of business, and they want to learn about others. And sometimes there's no agents who have done you guys used reefer intermodal, for example. So it's kind of cool, resource too. And yeah, we appreciate you guys coming on.
Likewise.
Thanks for having us. Yeah.
Yeah, and Matt, send me your email. Will, I just sent you an invite to the LWR. Matt, if you want to send me your email after the podcast,
I'll send it to you as well.
We'll link the graphics team. Will post the episode tomorrow after they upload it. We'll get them to link the War Room URL if it's available. I'll check out whatever you sent me. But yeah, thanks again, guys. We enjoyed it, and yeah, we'll have to have you guys back on in the future. Check in on the War Room and HMD. So thanks again.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
All right,
that was fun. I learned a lot. It was a good episode. Shout out to our sponsors, YRB, Carrier AI Sourcing. We're not sourcing, Carrier AI vetting. Basically can detect if someone's spoofing you. Great company. Black Box Logistics, Will's company, HG Ships, where I recruit agents. Sales Dash CRM, Freight Specific. Give Josh or Drew a call. Really great CRM. And Taft's top 10 factoring company. Kansas City based. Reach out to Rob and Ryan. And we'll be back next week.
Yeah, well, two things real quick, Matt. One, you forgot to mention again that Black Box Logistics was the People's Choice. And then two, I've got to post up, and we are looking for our dog of the week. So whoever, you can comment a submission. You can submit yourself if you'd like, but whoever has the most likes by
our dog is winning right now.
It's going to be the dog of the week. Yeah, last week we had a duck. So
it looks like we're going to have a dog. I think the dog has 7 likes. So unless something changes here.
Karina just commented that if we don't make her the dog of the week, she's going to rename Big Dog, which is our duck that was named after the podcast last week. But we're not going to be extorted. So we're not having any of that. But anyway, guys, appreciate you tuning in. We'll be back at it next week, and we'll have the dog of the week out Friday. Might be
sounds good. We'll see y'all next week.
All right. See you, Matt.